Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Tim from 12 Pell, and today we're going to be showing you how I do a mid-drop bald fade. So the first thing you got to think about is, right, when the client comes and sits in your chair with skin fades, it's a little bit difficult just because everybody's hair density is different. When the hair density is a little lower, you have to be a little bit less aggressive, but when it's a lot of hair per square inch, you get to be a little bit more aggressive. Going through his hair right now, his scalp, you can kind of see through the scalp a little bit, so this is low density, okay? After I let him know that, I'm gonna first go into my clipper of a comb. Yeah, so we're basically gonna start at the temple, drop it all the way behind the occipital bone. That's where we start our first guideline, so let's get to it right now. So first things first, wet the hair. You gotta section out the top from the sides so nothing is in your way, right? And the more time you use to prep the hair, the more efficiently you're gonna be moving. Don't be afraid to spend a little bit more time in the beginning to section out the hair so it stays out of your way when fading. When I fade, I always like to dry the hair on the sides just so there's no hair that sticks onto my clippers. That's done. We're gonna grab our clipper and our comb. Clipper over comb. We are gonna use this to debulk the hair and create shape, right? So we're doing a mid-drop fade, right? So the middle of the head is usually where the head rounds in, right? Rounds inwards. So we're just gonna touch his head. You're gonna locate that section that rounds in, and we're gonna take mental note. So this is the area, usually it's above the ears. Locate that. You're just gonna use that as your base. So nothing ever goes into the parietal ridge. It always comes out. I always like to keep my clipper open, just in case, or you could put a guard on it. So here, if you do this correctly, the top section of the hair should be already faded. Why? Is because the hair on top, this section right here, is always longer, and the bottom is shorter. This part, don't worry about how close you get because this is gonna be skinned out. As tight as I can here, and then following around the head, creating that U in the back. Removing all this is gonna be skinned out. As I'm going higher, I am turning my clipper more out. So there's a slight line right there, so I can get rid of that. Feeling the head, this is where it turns out, right there. Making sure I don't turn the clipper comb inwards, always outwards. Going in, turning it out. My base of the clipper comb is laying on the part where it sticks out the most. Of course, down here, it doesn't matter how close you get it, because this is gonna be skinned out. Cool, after that's done, we are doing a mid-drop bald fade today, so the first thing you need to do is set the guideline. So usually at the temple. For mid-fades, I usually will, again, that mental note, right, where the head is furthest out, I will not go past that section. Temple area, this is the temple area. Just gonna use my trimmers to set that first guideline. As I'm setting that first guideline, I'm not making a solid line, a very, very soft line. So I'm using the C-stroke as I'm pulling out. And then we are dropping the fade to make sure that the bottom, the back, the side view is rounded. Something to think about, right, is you can also feel the head. Usually I will start the fade under, maybe an inch from the bone that sticks out, right underneath it. Right, so his bone's right here. I'm gonna start right underneath. Varies from person to person, right? Sometimes it protrudes out a little bit more. The reason why I make soft guidelines is so that I don't have to use so much time and energy into fading. After that is set, you're gonna use your trimmer, your electric shaver. Get rid of all that stubble, making all this skin. Okay, when you do this also, you also don't want to skin all the way up to the line. You're going to leave a little bit, maybe half an inch. This is because you want to leave some gradients there. Same thing, you don't want to create a line, so what I do is I pull out. As I finish, I'm pulling out. The lower you are, the more pressure, and the higher you go to the line, you kind of soften up the pressure. I would open the lever, and I would flick out, okay? Go about an inch above. right? Let's just say here, following that first guideline all around the head, okay? This is obviously lower density, so be a little bit less aggressive here, and you can go a little bit more aggressive here because it's much darker. Start open, on the head, C-stroke out, all around the head. Making sure you're pulling out at the top because you're still blending. This is why we C-stroke, to make sure that the structure is straight from the front. I'm gonna use the same tool that I have, and I'm just gonna open and close to get rid of that first guideline. This is because I don't wanna go and grab the one guard. I just wanna make sure that I'm finished with what I have in my hand. One step above the skin to 0.5 is closed, but just in case, I'm going to just open it halfway. And the shorter the guard you have, the smaller the strokes. So I went down, so the smaller the strokes. And so if there is a line that you cannot get rid of, you can use your trimmers to flick on that solid line, but because you flicked out before, I don't need it anymore. But if you were to put a solid line with your trimmers, then you probably have to. But we're saving time right now. Anybody got some lotion, bro? Is the one guard. Now we're gonna start to fade from the next level up. So this section right there, getting rid of that dark spot. I always start opened, right, just in case, right, just to test it out. Same idea with the 0.5, right? I'm gonna test it out with opened, and then I'm gonna go in. Same idea. Put the guard on top, start opened. You can be a little bit more aggressive on the back area, but be very gentle on the sides. So when the head dips in right there, feel free to use your corners to get into those crevices. Okay, so now once that's done, then you're gonna go in between, close it up, just gonna fade that out. Apply a little bit more pressure around the areas that's most dense. So as you can tell, right, this is a little bit more faded than here, and the reason why is because the hair is much more dense around this area, right? This is a 1.5 open again, right? Just to get rid of this dark section right here. Open, just to clean up. Keep in mind that the head starts to turn here, so making sure that it stays square. Usually on the left side, the hair shoots forward this way. So you're just gonna follow that. We're just gonna soften up the transition with the half guard. Always start opened. Listen to see if it's cutting. It is. So I'm just gonna continue doing that. A little bit of a line there, so I'll close it. Sometimes you just have to go over it a couple more times, especially if the area is a lot more dense, to make things a lot smoother. Okay, you can go in circular motions. Just checking my mirror. Because it turns in, if I use a clipper, it might create a hole. So I'm gonna use my thinning shears in this area right there. Okay, I'm gonna start here. Test it. Making sure you don't cut too much, just to soften up. You can also go into it. Okay, so the best idea for you is to angle yourself towards the mirror so you can see, right? It's starting to become a little softer. Right, a good fade is when equal amount of light goes through.
For that spot, like that you just went over,
yeah.
Would it be fine if you just clip over comb that?
Yeah, you can. Right now, I'm finished with clip over comb. The reason why I'm using this is because I want to maintain this shape. Right, if I clip over comb like that, you're not really getting in the crevices. Right, because it's super flat here. But we left this density there so that it's more rounded here. As long as you're very gentle, you shouldn't be creating holes. And again, you're not going to be doing this when the hair is very, very light, only in very dense areas. I can line this up, right? Mm-hmm. Cool. So I'm just going to comb the hair as much as I can to make sure it lays down. And you're just going to envision where that line should be. And sometimes you just have to imagine that there's hair there. There is hair there, very, very tiny bit of hairs, and you can create that line by making sure that your placement of your trimmers is in the right place. Very, very gentle, precise, using your middle finger as an anchor. Boom. I just double checked the mirror, right? As you can see, this side is straight, this side has a little bit of an issue. Okay, so I'm just gonna fix that right now. So I'm gonna go in front of him, I'm gonna see, just making sure that the head is straight without going in. Okay, that looks a lot better. Open, right, close, fade that line out. Then you're gonna move on to the next guard, one guard. But now you're just fading the opposite direction. You can go down, right, if that's easier for you, but same idea. Open and then close. You put sunscreen, bro?
No, lotion.
Oh, lotion.